Today, we're picking up right at the start of Mirim tournament. As the preliminaries of the tournament were ending, night had descended, and the ball began. Everyone was busy talking about the tournament while sharing drinks. Yet, amid the festivities, a shadow loomed over the Sapphire Clan head, Moonjubek. A concerned voice rose from the crowd, directed at Moonjubek, who appeared brooding and distant. "Why is your expression so sour?" inquired a curious onlooker. Moonjubek remained silent, a cunning smile playing on his lips as he eavesdropped on the discussions around him. The success of the martial arts competition was the talk of the town, with excitement soaring over the participation of exceptional Mirim descendants and notable figures like Olympus Prince, Hargan, and the highly sought-after Kim YuWon. The mention of Kim YuWon sparked particular interest, as he was the sole individual to pass the seemingly insurmountable trials of the heavenly divine cult. Clan heads vied for his allegiance, recognizing the potential strength he brought to their respective clans. Moonjubek seized this opportune moment to drop a bombshell that would send shockwaves through the Mirim alliance. Kim YuWon is the vice lord of the heavenly demon divine cult. The revelation hung in the air, disbelief etched across the faces of the assembled clan heads. Accusations of nonsense and incredulity echoed through the group. Moonjubek, ever the manipulator, seized the opportunity to sow discord. The rancor from the divine cult refers to him as vice lord, he claimed, adding fuel to the speculative fire. "I wanted to greet him, but he blocked me and tried to threaten me," he continued, further tarnishing YuWon's image. The enmity between the heavenly divine cult and the Mirim alliance provided fertile ground for rumors. Moonjubek, having accomplished his motive, reveled in the success of his scheme. The once unified Mirim now stood divided, suspicions and distrust sown by his words. As the clan heads grumbled and deliberated on the implications, Moonjubek continued his campaign against Kim YuWon. "How could we let a demonic cult vice lord become the champion?" he questioned, stoking the flames of opposition. Seizing the moment, he proposed a sinister plan. "How about we do this and that in the finals?" 2 days passed like a flash, and the day of the Mirim tournament finale dawned. Due to the finale, Mirim Realm was filled to the brim with players from all over the tower. Some were here to enjoy the tournament, and others came to scout prodigal rookie players. Inside a certain room that YuWon booked, Hargan laid down on the bed contemplating and asked YuWon, why would they delay the finale and even change the mode from individual fights to a brawl? "What do you think, YuWon?" YuWon did not bother to think much and replied, "It's better. This way we will be able to finish faster." Hargan agreed because in individual fights it takes too long to decide the winner. "But why did you come here? Where are your teammates?" YuWon inquired. Hargan's teammates were quite strong compared to other participants, but they preferred going outside to visit the Mirim Realm and have some fun instead of participating in the finale due to Kim YuWon's prowess. Suddenly the messenger ball resonated. Only 5 minutes left until the finale began. Hargan released a bolt of lightning as the time Mirim finale dawned. He had been waiting impatiently for the finale to have a fierce fight with YuWon. The arena where the matches were held was filled with people to brim. As YuWon and Hargan reached the entrance, people standing subconsciously backed away out of fear. YuWon noticed the intense glares as he walked through the crowd. Even the once talkative Hargan was paying more attention to his image and walked silently through the crowd. Suddenly a voice came from behind addressing to YuWon. "It's been a while. Do you remember me?" It was Namgung Hyun from Namgung noble family. As Hyun walked close to them, Hargan turned to look at YuWon and asked, "You know him?" Hyun explained that they met during 11th floor trials as enemies. Hargan wondered how could a person survive, contending against YuWon. Later, both introduced themselves. Hyun intensively stared at YuWon, his mind filled with various thoughts. He remembered the events from 2 days ago when Jubek plotted against YuWon. The various Mirim clans heads discussed dealing with the heavenly divine cult and Kim YuWon. As Jubek ignited a spark, the other clan heads started wondering about the various plots the divine cult might be weaving to contend against the Mirim alliance and rise once again using Kim YuWon. Namgung Hyun listened to everything they said. He suddenly interfered. Did the heavenly cult go against the rules or use any cowardly methods? What is wrong with their approach? Hyun, who was known for his just and chivalrous character, stood with YuWon. In response to Hyun, a voice came from a quiet corner. A person appeared holding a tobacco pipe, with long black hair, and responded, "If you are scared, don't get involved." It was Jagal Jin Cheon from the Jagal family. Jin Cheon was a snake-like bastard, due to the support of the second-largest family of Mirim, the Jagal family. He was able to voice out his thoughts. It also implied that most of the Mirim sects were in support of this plot. Outside the arena, YuWon, noticing Hyun's intensive glare, inquired, "Do you have something you want to say to me?" Hyun knew about YuWon's skills, but still, he thought it would be difficult to contend against several martial artists. So he responded, "I don't have to worry about you, but still be careful about the finals." He then left, and Hargan looked at his back in confusion. Just then a sound resounded in the air, notifying the participants to enter the arena to proceed with the tournament. Hargan, still confused about what Hyun said, asked YuWon, "What was he talking about? Be careful of what?" YuWon did not reply and asked him to enter the arena. As they crossed the entrance, a huge arena appeared before them, filled to the brim with players from all over the tower, from various clans and races. As they entered, upon noticing several players staring at YuWon, Hargun finally understood Hyun's warning and mumbled, "I understand now. You are so popular, YuWon." YuWon already expected this situation, but still, it was too childish. Among the players waiting to pounce on YuWon, there was also a black-haired young man with long black hair from Jigal clan. Hargan raised his hand. "Ready to start fighting," he said. "YuWon, you are my opponent. So, don't get it done by other bastards." YuWon withdrew his sword and said, "Don't worry. It will never happen to me." Right at this moment, inside the grand arena main area, the clan's heads were still discussing about YuWon. As they were talking, a figure closed in on them. He was Heavenly Demon, Cheon Mujin. Moon Jubek complimented Jaegal Jiang on his planning to counter YuWon in the Mirim tournament finals. "I did not do much. This is all thanks to the Sapphire clan head." As Jaegal Jiang spoke, several other clans' heads also admired him. As they were talking, a figure sitting in a corner was listening to their conversation. He was Namgung Jihyuk, the leader of Namgung family. He remained silent and did not bother to converse with them. Mirim Alliance had now become completely rotten. People now used dirty tricks behind the scenes instead of using swords and chivalry to fight. Namgung Jinwoon blamed himself for all of these issues. Due to his recklessness, Jaegal Jiang was able to gather such a large force. He resolved himself to take responsibility and change everything. Just when they were busy talking, some of them felt a huge pressure closing on them. They subconsciously turned to look in that direction. But the other clans' heads, still focused on the YuWon match, did not bother to pay attention. Despite all of their efforts, several players combined were not able to fight YuWon, which caused desperation. Their faces turned sour. The person who just entered the room spoke, releasing his thick internal energy. "It seems like our Vice Lord is doing quite remarkably." Just as several heads turned to look at him, he introduced himself. "I am the Heavenly Demon, Cheon Mujin, coming here due to Namgung's invitation." Jubek stood up trembling. He could not fathom an existence like the Heavenly Demon to attend the tournament. Just as he spoke in a trembling voice, Namgung Hyuk interrupted. He walked in front saying, "Welcome, I was waiting for you. Heavenly Demon." All the attention shifted towards the Heavenly Demon. The clan heads backed away subconsciously, drawing their weapons out. Cheon Mujin looked at Jubek with his fierce eyes and warned him, "I am warning you. If you unsheath that, I will kill you." Jubek's body trembled. Cheon Mujin walked past him, placing his hand on his back, and said, "Good, you did well. YuWon would have been able to win until now if it were not for the rules being changed." It was absurd to think that the match would be manipulated to make YuWon lose. The tension in the room heightened. The clan heads trembled in the Heavenly Demon's presence. Upon his revelation, no one spoke or even dared to come forward. "What is wrong with your expressions? Do I look angry?" The Heavenly Demon smirked as he spoke those words. The Mirim Alliance leader trembled as he spoke, fearing the impending danger. He continued, "Why would I be angry? It's a stage set through all your efforts. It will be destroyed anyway." The scene shifted to the arena, where YuWon, still fighting with the several players, swiftly dodged an axe aimed at him. He stood alone in the middle of the encirclement. The axe smashed on the ground. YuWon's eyes flickered as he realized the axe was created through some sort of magic. In Mirim it was called sword chi. After witnessing such skills, YuWon resolved to attack seriously. Just then a guy with a long spear came at him. Both their weapons clashed, creating huge crackles. Even after pouncing on YuWon with his full strength, the player was not able to budge YuWon a little. Instead, due to the huge pressure YuWon exerted, he got thrown several meters back. After the clash, the players started encircling YuWon. Leading the players was Jaegal Jin Cheon, the player holding a fan. He kept on sending player after player to clash with YuWon to tire him down. YuWon finally understood why they changed the rules. This method seemed quite simple and effective. In a war where several thousands of people fight each other, the most skilled ones will always fight many people at once. In this way, no one will notice anything suspicious, even if they use some dirty tricks. YuWon knew he could not beat everyone one by one, so he decided to use some more power. A blue energy radiated from his sword. It was the Sil magic sword. However, due to the tower's limitations, the strength of the magic sword was reduced partially. Even after half of its strength, the sword got completely engulfed by the blue energy. Jaegal Jincheon observed the sword chi and realized YuWon had a magic power above 60. So, the rumors about YuWon being able to fight rankers, he considered it false. I definitely would be able to go against him, he thought. By flapping open his fan, he ordered the players to charge together at YuWon. All players ran towards YuWon, with their weapons held high and eyes filled with bloodlust. Suddenly a thunderbolt appeared out of nowhere. In a split second, Hargan came smashing on the players with thunderous speed. The players running towards YuWon cried in agony as the thunderbolt hit them. Their momentum broke due to this rampaging energy. Hargan was now standing beside YuWon, both caught up in the encirclement of several players. The lightning energy released from Hargan kept them at bay. Hargan walked forward with a fierce look and addressed to the players, "Hey you small fried, isn't it a bit unfair?" While YuWon's eyes were wide open, he could not understand the reason behind Hargan's actions. Jaegal Jincheon stepped forward and inquired, "Can we take your actions as standing with YuWon? We thought we could have a good relationship with you." But he got interrupted as Hargan remarked, "I don't know why you thought such. But you are quite stupid." Jaegal Jincheon shuddered in response to Hargan's words. Hargan further continued, "Does it make you angry? The Jaegal clan always talk big, using underhanded tricks." As he finished, Hargan disappeared in an instant, appearing in front of Jaegal Jincheon in a split second and punching him in the guts with full force, which resulted in Jincheon being thrown several meters away. Jincheon was able to stop him from flying further away. From this punch alone, he witnessed Hargan's monstrous strength. His whole body trembled in pain with just one punch. Gritting his teeth, he resolved himself and ordered, "I will be Hargan's opponent. Everyone should go and subdue YuWon." In this split second, a thunderbolt appeared on his side again. Hargan with his monstrous strength threw another punch at Jincheon. This time he was able to withstand and hold his ground. "I thought Olympus had a hostile relationship with YuWon," Jincheon inquired. From their words alone, Hargan could understand the Jaegal family to be an informant of Olympus. As they have gathered together to take down YuWon, he should have already noticed. Without wasting much time, Hargan ran towards Jincheon once again and threw another punch which was blocked by Jincheon's fan. But the fan itself got damaged. He could not understand how the situation had come to this. For Hargan, who had inherited the blood of Zeus to be able to beat him, Jaegal Jincheon to such a state, to be this hopeless. Hargan kept on throwing punches at him nonstop. With a barrage of punches, Jincheon could not do anything other than silently bearing all this pain. Finally, he managed to block off his punches and remarked, "If you did not interfere, we would have been able to get rid of YuWon." Hargan responded with a smirk, "Do you really think so? Do you think those guys would be able to get rid of YuWon?" From the start, they were naive to think they could fight against YuWon with numbers, who in himself is a lone wolf. Just as the scene folded, blue energy could be seen among clouds of dust. It was YuWon with his magic sword skill alone. He fought against many. As he slashed and beat the players, cries of agony and pain resounded in the air, resulting in utter chaos. The players now trembled in fear in the face of YuWon. On the other side, Hargan threw another punch at Jincheon and revealed, "What a pity to be defeated by a guy who was just casually fighting." Hargan's words sent shivers down Jincheon's spine. As he tried to inquire further, Hargan managed to land a critical hit on him, which sent him flying in the air. He understood he could not win against Hargan, but for YuWon to be even stronger than Hargan, he is a monster in itself. After a moment, he smashed on the ground, resulting in utter defeat. On the other side, the players who fought against YuWon were also heavily injured. They cried in agony and begged YuWon to stop. The players still standing upon witnessing their fallen comrades tremble in fear. They threw their weapons on the ground admitting defeat and ran away from the arena in fear. YuWon, holding his magic sword, closed in on Hargan and commented, "Now that it's just the two of us left. Shall we start then?" Hargan, who had been waiting for this moment, smashed his fists together, creating thunderbolts, and revealed, "Yeah, I have waited long enough. Let's start it." His face glowed with excitement, and an evil smile played on his face as he faced YuWon. "I know you have waited long enough, but I want to ask you two questions," YuWon inquired. From the trials, where YuWon defeated Hargan in a single strike, He had been urging to fight with him to decide who was stronger. YuWon's words made him more frustrated, and he grumbled. YuWon inquired, "Do you not regret turning your back on Olympus?" Hargan knew about the consequences of his actions, but he stayed firm and did not regret his actions. As Hargan replied, YuWon asked, "Did you forget my punch sent you flying last time?" How could he forget such an embarrassing moment, to be sent flying by a player who was not even a ranker? Hargan smashed his foot against the floor in anger and shouted, "Yeah, I remember. But do you still think I'm the same person from back then?" Facing Hargan, YuWon commented, "No, you look even smaller now." After YuWon's words, Hargan activated his thunderbolt. He wanted to bring out all the strength YuWon was hiding. In an instant, he closed the distance and stood face to face YuWon. YuWon also took his stance. As the fist and the sword clashed, a huge blast was created in result, creating huge shockwaves that sent shivers down the audience. They covered their eyes and mumbled, "What is happening? Are they even players? They are not rankers, right?" In a split second, both the fist and sword collided several times, creating huge shockwaves. Hargan, still smiling, commented, "Show me more of your strength, YuWon." He kept punching YuWon fiercely, but his fists were blocked by the sword over and over again. The ground beneath them shattered due to the collision of their energies. Huge shockwaves were being sent throughout the arena over and over. The clouds of dust spread throughout the arena, covering the site. Hyun, who was still lying around in the arena, cried out in agony. After being beaten down by Hargan, he was already in a worse state. The energy released from the clash worsened the situation. Hyun was still standing in the arena fighting with other players. He could the intensive energies from the clash. Hyun could not believe Hargan to possess such overwhelming strength. He had heard his name all the time. In the Miram realm, he was always compared with Hargan, so he thought he could compete with him. But at the level of strength Hargan possesses, even if several players similar to Hyun would him, there would be no meaning. At this moment, the players remaining in the arena could only witness the fight between YuWon and Hargan. From the fight, it looked like even YuWon had a hard time fighting against Hargan. They could only ponder, does YuWon really possesses the strength of a ranker? Opposite to their thoughts, YuWon had been holding back on his strength to fight against Hargan. Hargan had been throwing and punching ferociously at YuWon. To everyone's surprise, the last punch threw YuWon off guard, resulting in getting pushed away. But YuWon instantly regained his balance. Hargan did not wait even a bit and closed in on YuWon in an instant. YuWon could only wonder how many agility stats he possessed to move this fast. Hargan instantly threw another strong punch at YuWon. He was getting frustrated at how he blocked every punch with a sword. He only needed one more punch to shatter the sword. He gritted his teeth and closed in again, but to his surprise, YuWon's hand reached out to Hargan's head, leaving him bewildered. YuWon grabs hold of Hargan's head, gripping his hair firmly in his hand. Hargan anger was infuriated, his eyes filled with anger, and he cussed out YuWon. YuWon, on the other hand, had a wicked smile which further added fuel. In an instant, Hargan lashed out, releasing a huge amount of energy, creating a blast on the platform. Both backed away instantly. The sword was almost on the verge of collapse. YuWon remarked, "You have got some strength there." Hargan, unfazed, responded, "That blade of yours, it's going to shatter. What will you do? Is that all you have, YuWon? What the hell have you been doing?" Just as he was speaking, to his surprise, a sudden gush of blood splattered from his arm. Hargan left astonished. YuWon commented, "I wasn't just getting hit, you know." Hargan could not believe YuWon is still fine after getting hit by several of his lightning attacks, which meant YuWon had a stronger physical build than him. But he considered himself to be stronger in magic than YuWon. With newfound confidence, Hargan took a few steps back, readying himself for another turn. He resolved himself to destroy that weapon of YuWon first. With a sudden gush of lightning, he instantly closed in on YuWon and threw a punch at the sword. Hargan gathered all of his energy in his right hand and rampaged. He started throwing continuous punches at the sword. With the barrage of powerful punches, the sword kept getting destroyed. Dents kept appearing on the sword, and it started to shatter piece by piece. With a final strike, the sword finally shattered into pieces, completely destroyed. Hargan felt accomplished, destroying the very sword he thought YuWon relied on. YuWon let go of the hilt. Just then a heavy sound resounded in the surroundings. "You did pretty impressive." Hargan was taken aback by YuWon's words. You should be the one to get the upper hand, but why would YuWon be so composed? As he raised his head, a menacing aura came out of YuWon, engulfing all the lightning around the field. As he witnessed such a scene unfolding, he could only think of withdrawing all of his energy. YuWon manifested the power of giants in his right hand, taking his stance through a punch at Hargan. As the punch closed in, Hargan felt defeated at that very moment. Blood gushed out from his nose just from the pressure. In that instant, a huge shockwave covered the whole arena, shattering the ground and alike. Amongst the chaos, a figure flew several meters high into the air and smashed into the ground far away from the platform. It was Hargan. YuWon was the only one left standing on the platform. The whole arena was hushed silent at this moment, due to the unfolding event. As YuWon looked around, he heard some crying out in agony and pain. It was Jagal Jincheon. YuWon turned to look at him and shouted, "You are still not done. Come on, let's finish it quickly." But Jincheon mistakenly got caught up in the crossfire of two monsters. He could not bear it anymore and collapsed on the ground. A huge screen appeared in the arena, notifying the champion of the Grand Mirim tournament, Kim YuWon. Several screens popped out in the arena showing YuWon's figure. The arena felt silent for a moment and suddenly gashed out with an uproar. YuWon grabbed the broken sword hilt in his hand. It was the sword that Hephaestus created for him with the worst mana conductivity. Its purpose was to practice mana control, but it broke earlier than YuWon expected. Thanks to YuWon's mana being suppressed under the foliage of this sword, he was able to fight on equal standing with the players, and he should have been able to deceive some of the rankers who were disrupting him to join their clans or guilds. Right then a fairy appeared in the sky, requesting attention from everyone. He announced, "The 834th Grand Mirim competition's victor is player Kim YuWon." The fairy then closed in on YuWon with a mic asking how he felt about the victory. "It was fun," YuWon casually replied. The fairy was taken aback by YuWon's response and felt silent for a moment. The fairy took out a box with a red pill inside it. Then it continued, "We will now distribute the rewards," and handed over the pill to YuWon. It was the Greater Scarlet Medicine Ball. This time Scarlet Medicine Ball is of much higher quality. YuWon wondered, it must be bitter and harder to digest if it is of higher quality. YuWon's next target was the 20th floor, but before that, he needed to get the stats to the point he wanted, and in doing so the Greater Scarlet Medicine Ball would assist. Right this instant, inside the Great Room, where all the clan leaders gathered, Cheon Mujin, the heavenly demon, smiled at the announcement. The Mirim Alliance leader trembled in with anger as they heard this news. Jagal Jiang in particular gritted his teeth on this outcome. He could not understand the reason why Hargan stood beside YuWon. He should have been his enemy instead of the son of Zeus. The other clan leader, to divert the attention of betrayal from them, started praising YuWon for coming out as a champion. Cheon Mujin could not stand the change in their behavior. Just before they were talking trash about the heavenly demon cult, and now they turned to praise YuWon as a blessing. Jagal Jiang turned to look at Namgung Jinwoon and started accusing him of trying to lift up the demonic cult. Namgung Jinwoon did not back down and replied, "Demonic cult? What are you implying? It is the heavenly divine demonic cult. I am not lifting them up, but creating an alliance with them." Jagal Jiang continued to blabber. How can Mirim faction create an alliance with the demonic cult? Jinwoon resolved himself and revealed the information. Isn't it better than siding with Olympus? These words sent shivers down Jagal Jiang. He went silent, unable to utter even a word in response. Jinwoon continued, "Problems within Mirim should be resolved within Mirim. Were you thinking of giving this world to Olympus?" Jagal Jiang backed into a corner, gritted his teeth, and all of his long-term planning backfired on him. The clan leaders on this revealed information started murmuring. They could not believe how could someone betray their own people. Just then Jinwoon shouted, releasing immense pressure, "You should be embarrassed, Jagal Jiang." The clan leader standing behind Kyung also trembled under this pressure. Jagal Kyung could not utter a single word. He looked around at the people standing beside him. He finally understood why Namgung Jinwoon stayed silent all this time. He was not able to contend with us due to the people standing with me. But now that the heavenly demon and Namgung have joined hands, all the power loyalty shifted towards them. He could only tremble due to the consequences he would face. Heavenly demon, Cheon Mujin smirked as he looked at the unfolding scenario. It seemed like the time for the heavenly demonic cult to rise had come. Looking at his companions, Jagal Kyung mumbled, "Is this the end?" As the scene unfolded, Cheon Mujin inquired, "Now that the infighting has finished, let me ask one more thing. Who here is Moon Sobek?" His eyes emitted the heavenly demonic chi as he uttered those words. Sobek standing among the crowd trembled as he heard those words. He was doomed. A few days passed by after the Mirim tournament. At the training facility of the Namgung noble family, YuWon closed himself inside the cave for his isolated training. He wore a black robe, looking around the cave. This wasn't the place that could be booked so easily. If not for the assistance of the Namgung family leader, YuWon had to spend an enormous amount of points to rent it. In the previous life, when YuWon entered the tower, he wanted to become a ranker of the Namgung family, but now it seemed very small. YuWon sat down on the floor with his legs crossed and took out the scarlet medicine ball from his inventory. YuWon already had 99 mana points, but to reach 100, it was extremely hard, and from his memories of past life. In the Miram realm, how much you train your chi, the most important thing is concentration. How much mana YuWon can circulate in the shortest amount of time is the key to success. YuWon gulped the medicine ball in one bite, then instantly started circulating his mana. A huge amount of mana started circulating YuWon. He could feel a pure azure mana circulating within his body. He clenched his fists hard as it kept on circulating. He could feel that this mana was rejecting his body due to its purity. The mana started circulating inside YuWon's body. As YuWon possessed the skill, Master of Mana, he thought it would be easy to tame this much pure mana with limited effort. But to his surprise, the mana kept circulating and increasing in amount at the same time, and more mana started entering YuWon's body. Sweat started pouring down from his face as he struggled to bear the pain. He thought it would be a 50% chance to succeed, but if it kept going like this, he might fail. Despite the hardship, YuWon remained focused on the mana stat, which was still 99. The scene shifted to the 20th floor, Nautical Kingdom Portugia. On Nepta, one of the islands of Portugia, an axe smashed on the ground. Cries of mercy could be heard. Several players encircled two kids from the Giants race. The players kept on cussing the Giants race. The Giants race has the capability to grow in size much larger than normal humans. A 10-year-old kid could grow up to 4 to 5 meters in height. One of the players that encircled the Giants kids inquired, "Why wouldn't you join Asgard when they asked you to? Instead, you aligned yourself to the demon race?" Another player inquired about the location of the legend of Portugia, the Sea Stone. He was the leader of the Vermilion Wolf Guild, named Tiger. One of the legends that circulated in Portugia was that the one who got to hold the Sea Stone would become the ruler of the sea. The Giant's kid, Var, replied in a trembling voice, "Those are just fairy tales." The leader stepped up and commented, "Of course, we don't believe it ourselves. But we heard a rumor that the giant hid the stone. Since the source is Olympus, it must be the truth." The leader took out his sword, aiming at the kids. Hearing these words, the kids trembled in fear. "How could you say that, knowing our relation with Olympus?" he inquired. The leader, with a menacing voice, closed in the giant, pointing a dagger at him. He said, "Of course, it is true, but if you tell us without any interrogation, that would be good. But nevertheless, why would Olympus care about a few dead giants?" The leader kept on muttering. As he continued, he was interrupted by a sudden voice from behind. As they all looked behind, they could see a figure walking close from the shadows. The leader grumbled as he said, "Who is this bastard? Don't try to be a hero and get the hell away." While speaking, his eyes widened as he realized who this person was. It was Kim YuWon, who just climbed the 20th floor. YuWon activated Cinder Eyes to predict the movements of his enemies. Due to skill, his senses increased by 10%, then 25%. Sweat started pouring down his face. He remembered the time in the training facility when he engulfed the scarlet ball. The mana was circulating at an incredible speed within his body, due to which the speed of absorption also increased. Slowly, the mana started getting absorbed into YuWon's body. Finally, the long-awaited moment, his mana stats risen to 100. Due to reaching 100 mana stat points, he unlocked a unique skill. Right back to the present, YuWon's senses kept on increasing as it reached 50%. The unique skill, Sensory Field, that he gained from 100 mana stat points got activated. This skill could detect all the information in 50 meters, whether it's living or non-living. Just then the leader, Tiger, realized who this person was, Kim YuWon from the Grand Miram competition. As he uttered his name, everyone's eyes widened. Kim YuWon took out his sword and walked towards the players. He responded, "Playing a hero? If you think that way, then I will show that I am not playing." In an instant, YuWon's figure disappeared, and he charged at the players, bullying the giants. As YuWon charged at them, the players boggled. One of them gripped his axe tightly as he readied to fight with YuWon head-on. But when their weapons collided, he could feel just how strong YuWon exactly is. He instantly backed off and shouted, "Reveal who you are?" YuWon did not bother to explain, and as he was about to close in again, the leader intervened, standing in between them. He inquired, "Are you Kim YuWon?" YuWon nodded in agreement. The leader left out a wicked smile. "The heavenly demon cult's vice lord has come, huh?" The giants Var and Noir, both of them were baffled by this revelation. The bold man with an axe, infuriated by the unfolding situation, cussed out again. A bastard like you who only reached the 20th floor is trying to deal with us? But the leader intervened and warned him about getting ambushed by heavenly cult guards. The bald guy understood the situation. He was frustrated. The leader took his lackeys and walked away from the scene. But he had a wicked smile on his face, as Olympus had been grinding their teeth due to Kim YuWon. He would be able to sell out information on YuWon at the 20th floor head division. Night dawned and the forest turned dark. The giants Var and Noir bowed down to thank YuWon for his timely help. YuWon remained silent for a moment and then inquired, "No matter how young you are, you should be able to fight against those guys. Why didn't you fight?" This revelation took the giants by surprise. They were baffled. Var gritted his teeth as he inquired, "Looks like you know about giants very well. Which side are you, from Olympus or Asgard?" Noir intervened and tried to calm him down. But to no avail, he continued, "He is a human. Do you think he would help us without anything in return?" YuWon straightforwardly agreed to his words, further infuriating Var. He kept on babbling about the nonsense everyone kept on talking about. YuWon remained silent and kept on listening. As he kept on babbling and did not seem to stop, YuWon intervened. "I know, you got no information on the Sea Stone. I have business with another Titan, Urfa." This name Urfa left the Titans boggled. They could understand a new player knew about the ancient Elder of Titans. Var's rage shot out. He shouted, "The Elder does not meet humans. So get lost. I could kill a bastard like you." YuWon knew that giants were not weak. They could kill the players, but in the war between giants and humans, they restrained themselves. Otherwise, they will be slaughtered. Just as YuWon was immersed in his thoughts, Var intended to leave, but his sister Noor stopped. Only then did he realize that his sister already contacted the Elder. Noor turned to look at YuWon and explained, "Excuse me, it is not up to us whether you can meet the Elder or not." YuWon stared at the contact device. Moments later, huge wolves were running deep into the forest, and the giants and YuWon were riding on them. The Titan Var gritted his teeth. He still could understand why the Elder wanted to meet a human. They wondered, how could a human tame the big wolves? Does he possess a druid's taming skill or illusion magic? Var, still angered by the unfolding events, remained silent. His sister Noir complimented YuWon. She knew he was not an ordinary person. But Var expressed his suspicions about YuWon. Watching his brother immersed in thought, Noir advised Var, "Brother, don't think about fighting him." Just as the wolves reached a cliff, they jumped off in the air and landed on the ground. The big wolf started licking YuWon. As they reached the destination, Var was baffled by this situation. YuWon turned to look at the surroundings. There was a huge tree standing tall in front of them. "It is the divine tree of giants." Var explained, "What do you think? It's amazing, right? This tree cannot be destroyed or burned. It is one of the best in the world." Upon listening to Var, YuWon remembered the past when this tree that cannot be burned nor destroyed was burned down during the second Gigantomachia. The giants lived at the bottom of the ancient tree. YuWon stood at the cliff, mesmerized by the giant tree. Suddenly Var called out to him, "What are you doing? Come down here. You should move carefully from now on, otherwise you will die." As they moved towards the village, blue lights started appearing, and suddenly a huge village appeared in front of YuWon's eyes. The village giants were baffled at the sight of YuWon. "What is that? Isn't that a human?" they wondered. The villagers were astonished. For a long time they had no contact with humans, and now a human suddenly entered their settlement. YuWon could feel intense glares from every villager. Noor turned to look at YuWon and said, "Ignore them. You are a guest of the Elder, so don't be afraid." YuWon nodded and kept on walking through the village. Finally, stairs appeared in front of them, and upon climbing they reached a grand house. Var, placing his hand on his chest, asked respectfully, "Elder, are you inside?" The house remained silent. After a moment, a voice came from inside, "Come in." The door to the grand house opened with some energy. Var and Noor stood in place, and YuWon started walking towards the entrance. He was finally able to meet the Elder of Giants, Urfa. He was a legendary high ranker who existed before Gigantomachia. The Elder, pitying a wolf cub, greeted YuWon. The Elder, Urfa, sitting on a huge chair, spoke discreetly. "What was your name? My memory is vague these days since I'm getting old." YuWon in turn introduced himself. Elder Urfa had heard a lot about YuWon from Hephaestus from time to time. The Elder praised YuWon for his courage to fight against Olympus despite being a non-ranker and a 20th floor player. Suddenly, the atmosphere became tense as the Elder raised his eyes to look at YuWon. "That courage of yours is recklessness. If you value your life, don't fight against them. They flicker you away just like an ant." YuWon silently listened to the Elder's words. Looking into the elder's eyes, he spoke with a smirk on his face. I heard you were a pacifist. But in reality, you were just scared. Hearing YuWon's words, the elder expression changed, and a sudden gush of energy erupted from the elder's body, pressuring YuWon. Taking a few steps back, YuWon managed to endure the pressure. He remarked, Olympus is preparing for the next gigantomachia. Are you just going to sit back and wait for the fall of your race? The mana released by the elder Urfa could not penetrate YuWon's body. The elder was quite surprised, witnessing how the mana refused to harm YuWon. Watching YuWon's eyes, there was not even an ounce of fear he could see. YuWon's will was unwavering despite being in the presence of an ancient high ranker. The elder remarked, You are just as fearless as I have heard. YuWon was taken aback by the elder's words. He continued, You are right, child. It's only a matter of time before our ruin. The elder had already heard from Hephaestus, and YuWon was looking at the legend of Sea Stone. The elder revealed, Contrary to the rumors going around, we don't have the stone. But I know where it can be found. YuWon nodded and asked, Why are you letting me know that? The elder had two reasons to explain the details to YuWon. First, because Hephaestus recommended YuWon, which means he had no connections with Olympus, and second, because of YuWon himself. The elder eyes shifted to Kaini, the glove on YuWon's hand. YuWon's eyes widened on this revelation. He could not believe that the elder could sense Kaini despite it being invisible, but it was still his own perception. He clenched his fist, ready to take action at any moment. After some time, YuWon left the elder's house. On his way of going down the stairs, he stared at Kaini, pondering whether the elder knew about the existence of Kaini or not. Previously, when the elder stared at Kaini, he revealed that YuWon was the strongest player of this era. YuWon still could not understand the reason why Elder Urfa told him all the information about the legend of Sea Stone. The elder's evaluation of YuWon was too high. YuWon pondered if Urfa was testing him to determine his eligibility. The elder's house was located at the top of the giant tree. YuWon instantly ran down the tree. He will get the location of the Sea Stone soon, so instead of delving further, YuWon decided to test out his new skills. As he reached the bottom of the giant tree, YuWon raised his head to look at the huge branch of the tree. The tree looked quite sturdy. It should be equal in size compared to Sun Wukong's staff. At his current level, YuWon's skills should not be able to damage the tree, so he decided to run wild with his skills. YuWon activated the Divine Fire. Several fireballs appeared above his head. For the first time, YuWon fully launched the Divine Fire, because at his current level, Divine Fire is too high of skill for him to control. In order to partially control the full scale of Divine Fire skill, YuWon activated Cinder Eyes. As the senses increased, the unique skill Sensory Field activated. With this skill and Cinder Eyes, YuWon was able to perceive all the fireballs in the air and could manipulate them more accurately. As his perception increased to 50%, the fireball started raining down. One after the other, the fireball rained over YuWon, and he instantly managed to dodge all of them. However, due to the immense mana usage from using 3 high-tier skills at once, YuWon started getting dizzy. He instantly gripped himself and jumped far away. At that moment, a fireball reached over YuWon's head and fell down him, creating a huge fire pillar. The whole area was completely shattered. There were traces of Divine Fire everywhere. YuWon barely managed to avoid the last strike. Otherwise, it would have been bad. The power Cinder Eyes and Sensory Field allowed YuWon to see the world more clearly. Its power was great. But the pressure of using these skills could overload the brain, which might result in collapse. While YuWon pondered over it, a voice came from behind. What? You were here? You ant bastard. It was from a giant's kid, Quant. He continued, I heard you were great. Don't know if it's true or made up lies. He was trying to fight YuWon due to his hate for Man. His companions tried to calm him down, but he did not waver. YuWon wondered why the giant called him ant. They considered humans as their enemies. The scene shifted to the elder's house. Urfa could hear this conversation. He closed his eyes, sweat pouring down his face, as he remembered the past. Giant waves collided everywhere, several bodies lying around, and with earth dyed in blood. Several giants could be seen on the battlefield, fighting against Olympus. Suddenly a huge tsunami came crashing onto the shore. As they looked, a figure could be seen in the skies riding over the waves. It was Poseidon, a high ranker from Olympus. The elder jolted back to reality, seeing the wolf cub trying to wake him up. He placed his hand over the cub's head and responded, I am all right. Urfa had been to that dream many times in the past. It was the worst nightmare that giants faced during Gigantomachia. Just then the elder heard some noises. A huge commotion occurred outside. Someone shouted, "There is a fight with Kim YuWon." Urfa turned to look at the fight from his window. Due to Kim YuWon, the events will be different from the past when Pisidian destroyed the giants. As the fight progressed, Quant threw a punch at YuWon, but YuWon was able to stop his punch easily. Sweat poured down Quant's face, gritting his teeth. He could not believe how the events unfolded. YuWon gripped his fist tightly, and he smirked. "You punk. Are you laughing right now?" said Quant. YuWon, tightening his grip, started folding his arm. As a result, Quant started crying out in pain. Quant, embarrassed by the overall situation, started cussing YuWon. As a result, YuWon threw him on the ground. As Quant thrashed on the ground, he turned to look at other giants and announced, "There are more of you, right? I will play with you all as much as you want." The giants trembled in fear. They could not believe that a human would be able to take down one of their strongest, Quant. As the situation progressed, several giants gathered at the scene. Var and Noor rushed to the scene in a hurry, witnessing how several giants were defeated by a mere human. Var mumbled, "Does it make sense for a single human to take down a dozen giants?" Their eyes and mouth were wide open. As the scene unfolded, another red-haired giant, named Vulcan, came to fight with YuWon. YuWon instantly gripped him from his neck, raising him up high. He then thrashed him on the ground. Vulcan tried to resist, but YuWon, holding down his shoulder, activated the skill Gigantification. The power of giants started filling YuWon's arm. As YuWon pressed down, Vulcan cried out in pain. Seeing the several giants gathered together, YuWon announced, "I told you to come at me together. Did you not hear me?" YuWon's words baffled the giants. There were already several giants lying on the ground. In the unfolding crisis, Var turned to Noir. He remarked, "Noir, you told me not to fight him. Do you think that is the way to treat our guests?" At this time, Noir's expression changed and turned serious, her eyes glaring at YuWon. As they started walking towards YuWon, several giants voiced out, "Whoa, those two are here. I can't believe I get to see the descendants of Giant God fight here." As YuWon heard their words, he realized that the two of them were not as normal as they seemed. Noir and Var walked up to YuWon, Var furling his armband. Reaching closer, Var raised his arms, stretching his body. He remarked, "My body had been itching since the first time I saw you. Let's see the skills of famous Kim YuWon." YuWon withdrew his sword, his eyes shone brightly, and he responded to Vara's provocations, "Watch to your heart's content." "That will not be long, though." Vara's eyes glared, and he jumped into the air, charging at YuWon. YuWon immediately activated Cinder Eyes and Sensory Field to follow his movements. As Var landed on the ground, his punch missed the target. YuWon dodged to the side, and Var immediately charged again. Standing on his hands, he threw a kick at YuWon. He was quicker despite his heavy build. As YuWon contemplated, Noir suddenly appeared behind YuWon, ready to throw a punch. YuWon instantly raised his sword to block the punch. Now it has become a fight with two of the best giants. Despite blocking the punch, the pressure was so huge that YuWon got pushed back by several meters. The duo seemed quite hard to deal with. It was not possible for YuWon to fight with just physical strength and his mana, but YuWon only considered it a training to polish his recently obtained skills. In an instant, Var charged at YuWon with a punch, but YuWon easily dodged it. Var smirked and revealed, "Do you know why I never spoke up to my sibling? Because she is stronger than me." Both of them leaped in the air and charged at YuWon with fists and kicks. As the blows landed, the ground beneath shattered, and dust covered the whole scene. As the dust faded, YuWon disappeared from the place, leaving that baffled. Right at this instant, YuWon appeared in the sky above their heads. He used his skill, Steps of Hermes, to jump high in the air. The skill allowed one to perform a double jump in midair. It was a skill that he bought on the 11th floor through a public shop. Now that he has used double jump, YuWon activated the skill Skywalk. Stealthily appearing before the siblings, he slashed Noir's arm. It happened in an instant that they could not even react to YuWon's attack. Seeing his sister injured, Var pounced at YuWon, trying to capture him, but with the skill Skywalk, YuWon flashed away from the scene. Var gritted his teeth, his face filled with rage. Both siblings advanced to capture YuWon. They treaded along YuWon, trying to hit him over and over. But YuWon instantly flashes away. It was utter chaos. The giants standing around the perimeter cried out as they strode through the crowd. From time to time, YuWon slowed down, letting them catch up to him. But whenever they tried to pounce at him, YuWon instantly flashed away, leaving them boggled. The siblings breathed heavily. They could no longer play this cat-and-mouse game. YuWon was able to avoid all of their attacks with even a scratch. YuWon already knew where they would attack with the help of Cinder Eyes. Filled with anger, Var pressed on the ground. Lightning started coming out of his body. He could not comprehend why YuWon was just dodging and not doing any attack. He stood up from the ground. Lightning started enveloping his body. He resolved to finish the fight in one go, despite running in circles. More watching his brother getting serious, warned him to stop, in order not to get a penalty. Var was not even a ranker, yet he was getting a penalty for only using his mana, which meant he was going all out. YuWon activated his Cinder Eyes. He resolved himself to face the attack head-on. Mana started circulating around Var. YuWon activated Cinder Eyes' ability to read the path. He was determined to take this blow head-on and finish it in one blow. As Var closed in with a punch, YuWon's Cinder Eyes started flickering, reading the path. He finally found a crack in Var's attack. As both of them collided, a huge blast occurred. Var's punch missed, and he was baffled with eyes open. He gritted his teeth, cursing the situation. As the scene unfolded, YuWon's sword reached Var's neck. "Were you trying to achieve this? You were more reckless than I thought," Var remarked. Var admitted his loss, and YuWon smiled and withdrew his sword. The giants witnessing the scene could not believe their eyes. More still baffled wondered, it was a strike that cost Var a penalty, but YuWon still managed to pierce through it? YuWon raised his hand as a gesture of friendship. "You both are a little better than the rest. I hope we get along well," he remarked. Var, still wondering, could not believe YuWon's words, for him to say a little better. He realized what YuWon said, and resolved himself to fight YuWon once again one day. A smile appeared on his face, and his resolve to win next time was apparent. In response to YuWon, he shook his hand. "All right, let's get along well." 10 days have passed, and all the giants YuWon fights against are now sitting at the same table with YuWon eating their fill. Their desire to win again could be seen through their aggressive behavior. Var smashed his hand on the table, demanding to fight again. He announced, "Let's hurry up and eat to our fill and fight again." But YuWon rejected the offer to fight. He calmly explained that he had to focus on the 20th floor trial, which is to be held a day from now, so he needed to focus on recovering. Nor, sitting beside YuWon, kept staring at him. When they first fought, it seemed like YuWon was able to win by enduring a little longer. But now for the past 10 days, they had been fighting with YuWon over and over again. But every time YuWon was able to beat 5 of them in a matter of minutes. More could not wonder how strong YuWon really became if he used his mana properly. Noticing the intense glare from Noir, YuWon asked, "What is wrong?" She replied, "I was just thinking about the fight earlier. It seemed to me you have gotten a lot stronger." But YuWon nodded in denial, replying, "But I feel like nothing has changed. I still have not mastered the skill I was practicing." YuWon's words astonished Noir, who had been thinking about just how strong he really is. Var inquired, "Didn't you come here looking for sea stone? Will you come back if you pass the test tomorrow?" YuWon replied, "No, I am going to look for the sea stone before moving to the next floor." Var shuddered. "The test is tomorrow. When are you going to?" He went silent for a moment, realizing something. He inquired, "Don't tell me, is it on the 20th floor? The elder knew about it too?" All the face turned to look at YuWon. YuWon looked at Var and explained, "It is not just Urfa who knew. Your father, as a descendant of the giant god, also knew. But they are not telling anyone." Hearing YuWon's words, Var went silent. After a brief moment, his expression shook. He asked, "Is that how important that item is?" YuWon agreed. He then inquired, "If we really possessed it as rumors said, then why did the elder want to meet YuWon?" YuWon replied with a stern expression, "Who knows? Maybe because I am the strongest." Quant the piece of meat on the table. Irritatingly, he questioned, "So the elder knew everything? All because of a legend? Does he know how much we suffered?" His face filled with anger, and he gritted his teeth. Moore tried to stop him, but his anger lashed out. "Why should I? How many times did I get into a fight because of that? I almost died too." Looking at Vulcan and Var, he asked, "Was I the only one who suffered because of that? We all got hurt. Is that stone even more important than our lives? We have to hide because of that." All the eyes fixed on Quant. They all went through these troubles throughout their lives. YuWon wiped his mouth and remarked, "It was the right thing to do. Otherwise, you would all be dead. Isn't silence better than genocide?" Quant could not hold down his anger. His eyes filled with blood. Smashing his fist on the table, he charged at YuWon with a punch and started cursing, "You ant bastard. What the hell do you even know?" YuWon dodged the punch. Grabbing his shoulder, he slammed Quant right into the table. Quant cried out in pain. He tried to resist, but could not. Gritting his teeth, he grumbled, "Let me go." YuWon holding him down, his eyes filled with anger, he inquired, "What do you know about Urfa?" Being ignorant is not a crime, but if you don't know anything, keep your mouth shut. Later, YuWon let go of Quant and left the scene. Vulcan, holding up Quant, commented, "You still have not realized it after fighting for the day? He is way stronger than you." Quant, still angered, shouted, "Whatever, I will go and ask the elder about everything." Ver intervened, stopping Quant. He explained, "We are not even sure if what he said was true or not. We will know the truth tomorrow during the test anyway, so don't make a fuss." Ver wondered about what YuWon just said. If what was explained was true, then how much YuWon know? The scene shifted to a certain cottage in the village. Inside the house, YuWon lay down on the huge bed. He had been using Cinder Eyes and Sensory Field for 10 days continuously, but due to overload on his brain, he is now getting dizzy. As he decided to have some rest until the test, he noticed something. A strange energy was released from Kaini. Kaini was reacting like this because of the sea stone. It had been reacting like this since YuWon reached the 20th floor, and the reaction cycle kept getting smaller. The Dark Divine Stone which Kaini is made is similar in essence to the sea stone. They might be reacting to each other because the 3 divine stones were originally one. Looking at Kaini, YuWon wondered if it might become the key to finding the sea stone. But to do that, YuWon had to learn how to awaken Kaini first. He closed his eyes, focusing his attention on Kaini. He mumbled, "Open your eyes. Open your eyes like last time." The divine flame started entering Kaini as YuWon kept trying to wake it up. Frustrated, he opened his eyes, ordering Kaini to wake up. Suddenly, a menacing aura appeared out of nowhere. A figure resembling a closed appeared from within. The eye opened slightly and mumbled something to YuWon. The scene then shifted to the 20th floor trial area, the Triton Island. Different types of monsters could be seen everywhere. YuWon remarked, "The island is full of monsters." Var, amazed by the beauty of the island, wondered, "It looks like the tutorial island was made after this place." Moore started teasing his brother at how he almost got killed by Chimera here last time. Being embarrassed, Var turned to YuWon, shifting the conversation. He inquired, "I followed you because the elder told me to guide you. I wonder what could happen to you." YuWon sighed and replied, "Maybe it's not just a trial." According to Noir, this time some giant figures came to watch the trial. Many of the rankers did not come, because this place might become a war zone later. Urfa had made a bold decision, despite being low-key for millennia after Gigantomachia. YuWon knew Olympus would definitely notice these changes. In order not to lose the trust of Giant, he resolved himself to find the sea stone at any cost. The tower notification popped up notifying me about the remaining time. YuWon bid farewell to the siblings and advised them to go wild freely. Ver smiled. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. How could he miss it? As he turned to look back, there were several players trying to catch up to YuWon. The bald guy from before shouted, ordering his members, "Don't let him get away. We have to finish him before he reaches the trial area. We can overpower the giants." Just as he was shouting, his flickered. Ver instantly closed in and managed to throw a kick in his guts. The other players retreated subconsciously. The bald guy flew away several meters, finally getting smashed on the ground. Being held down by his neck, he cried out in pain. Gritting his teeth, he exclaimed, "These small-minded punks want to die so bad." The situation had changed from before, and the giants who were once hiding could freely and run wild. Just as the bald guy tried to speak further, he heard a huge bang. Noir gripped the head of a player and smashed it down on the ground. Her hand covered in blood, she fiercely stared at them. Watching Noir's gaze, the bald guy trembled. Var tightened his grip and announced, "We will fight from now. So shall we play?" Right at this moment, on a certain mountain peak, a figure stood there. Holding the contact tool, he inquired, "Can YuWon save the giants' kids, right?" He was Theseus, the 20th floor examiner and a part of Olympus. The player standing behind him reported, "That is right." There were also reports that the giant tribe is protecting Kim YuWon. Theseus knew that no matter how strong the Vermilion Wolf Guild leader was, they could not deal with YuWon on their own, and he had already interfered with Olympus twice. He ordered his lackey to join hands with the guys from other guilds and stop them from joining in the trial. Meanwhile, Theseus decides to attack Kim YuWon himself, while the administrator is focused on the trial. They wanted to deal with YuWon before the trial. The lackey behind Theseus wondered why would the giant tribe help a human. After Gigantomachia, they would flinch over the sight of a human. Theseus also did not know. He had heard from his father Poseidon about Sea Stone and Giant's tribe hiding it. His father ordered him to become the 20th floor administrator to find out the Sea Stone, to gain his acknowledgement. Poseidon was so obsessed with the Sea Stone that he even disobeyed Zeus, the leader of Olympus. Upon noticing how the current situation is unfolding, he wondered if YuWon is related to the sea stone. Just as he was contemplating his ideas, a sudden voice came from his lackey. He informed Theseus, "I am sorry, sir. I lost Kim YuWon." The scene shifted to YuWon, who was able to reach the 20th floor trial area. As he entered, the tower notified the start of 20th floor trial. Despite the obstacles, YuWon was able to enter the trial area. He wondered if those siblings would be able to handle it. As the trial stated, the tower was notified about the objective of this trial. In order to clear the trial, one had to survive for 12 hours on the island of Triton, which is filled with several sea monsters. Upon slaying the monsters, one will obtain Hearts of Sea, which will determine the achievement points one gets. This trial was similar to the 11th floor trial where one had to capture flags, but in this trial, there was no limit on the number of people. You could form teams and hunt together. But YuWon decided to hunt alone, as his ultimate goal was to find the sea stone hidden within the sea. With resolve etched in his spirit, YuWon jumped down the cliff into the sea. As he reached deep down the sea, he activated Cinder Eyes to find the path. YuWon remembered the conversation he had with Urfa. He advised YuWon to be a variety of the monsters deep down the sea. If they awaken from their slumber, he must attack their bellies instead of their backs. That was the trick to defeat them. YuWon will probably encounter more monsters than fished, and if he manages to pierce through them, he will be able to pass the first gateway to acquire the sea stone. Finally, as a remark, Urfa asked, "Can you do that, Kim YuWon?" Now that YuWon had reached deep into the sea, he started encountering several sea monsters. There were loads and loads of them, and as he activated Cinder Eyes, YuWon noticed a glowing mark at the far end of the abyss. Meanwhile, on the island, 6 hours had passed by, and players had formed teams to hunt sea monsters. One of the team managed to collect 15 hearts per person. As there was almost half time remaining, they were resolved to collect more hearts, which meant more rewards. The leader Akale of this team was a spy from Olympus. He had been told to search for Kim YuWon. But he understood the reality. The people they had were far from enough to fight against YuWon. Therefore, he does not desire to face or fight YuWon in any case. He ordered his team members to rest a little and then move in 2 groups to search for more Hearts of the Sea. Just then, a huge water pillar erupted from the sea. Akale went baffled. Chaos erupted, and they readied themselves to face the impending danger. Facing the sea, they withdrew their weapons in a hurry. Suddenly, a figure landed behind them, sashing on the ground. The sound of shattering shook their spirits. They mumbled in trembling voices, "What? It's a person. Why did he come from there?" Akale, watching the player that just appeared, instantly recognized him. It was Kim YuWon. As Akale was about to speak, YuWon took a long breath. Looking at the team leader with fiery eyes, he inquired, "Are you from Olympus?" The team leader, Akale, upon hearing words, could not utter a word. He trembled in fear. How could he know? Someone must have leaked the information. He had heard about the bad relationship between Olympus and YuWon. The leader, Akale, gulped, realizing their ending would be gruesome. YuWon sighed. He remarked that he was just guessing, but looking at their expression, what he said seemed to be right. Realizing that YuWon was just guessing, the players gulped, trembling with fear, and they started stepping back. YuWon, being annoyed, inquired, "Why do you keep stepping back?" YuWon informed them to not worry, as he had no intention of fighting them. Instead, they should be fighting with what was to come. Suddenly, the ground started trembling. It was like the whole island would be torn apart. Huge swirls started appearing on the sea surface, and suddenly several huge monsters came out of the sea. The once trial site had been filled with several sea monsters. The sea serpents started coming out of the sea, destroying anything in their paths. The leader, Akale, gulped, wondering just how many sea serpents there were. Just then his team members shouted that there were several monsters swimming in the distance behind the sea serpents. The team members shouted, urging Akale to leave the island. Otherwise, their retreat would be blocked. Several monsters started appearing from the sea as well. The land monsters also started to gather. Akale responded in a trembling voice, "Leave the island? We are going to be disqualified from the trial." His team members shouted, trying to make him understand the dire situation they would fall into if they delayed any longer. Akale, bent on clearing the trial, mumbled, "There is nothing wrong with the trial." But suddenly YuWon, furling his sword, conveyed, "You guys finally understood." The players were boggled at the how situation seemed to be unfolding. Suddenly a tower notification popped out, notifying that the trial would be reorganized. While the players ran around in disbelief, YuWon remembered the words from Urfa. He advised them to break the seal on the monster's stomach using the sun and moon pattern. Once the seal breaks, the monster will appear, due to which the trial difficulty will drastically change. While YuWon's mind raced with memories, Akale, staring at the hearts of the sea in his hand, wondered, if the trial is reorganized, then what are these for? His teammates rushed him to leave the area. Akale dropped the hearts of the sea on the ground and ran away with his group. Just then, the group of land monsters closed in. They started charging at YuWon. As the monsters charged, YuWon withdrew his sword and started slaying them one by one. Urfa explained to YuWon that once the trial changes, Olympus will not be able to do anything. It will be organized by the administrator. He also revealed that the one who let the turtle grow and put him to sleep after it swallowed the sea stone was all done by him. They also devised a plan to easily retrieve the sea stone. Once the turtle appear, the giants will start fighting against Olympus outside the trial site, in order for YuWon to easily get the sea stone and protect it before Olympus could get their hands on it. Currently, on the trial site, YuWon had already slaughtered several monsters, their bodies lying around. As the seal on the turtle broke, all monsters in the vicinity started going frenzy in search of the sea stone. Olympus must have been in a state of chaos since they noticed these monsters. Suddenly, the tower notification appeared again, notifying that the sea turtle would appear now. Suddenly, the island shook with intense tremors as the notification appeared. YuWon had broken the seal on the sea turtle for quite some time, but it got awakened now. As YuWon wondered where the sea turtle was, the tower notified. The trial was the body of the sea turtle, astonishing all the players. The tower further notified to eliminate the sea turtle to obtain the sea stone, which further intensified the trial. At the same time, somewhere on the trial site, Theseus held the contact device waiting for the report on YuWon's capture, but even after 6 hours, there was no news about any sightings of YuWon. He wondered, where could have YuWon disappeared to, for the whole group of players not being able to find a single person. Suspicions arose in his heart as the whole island kept shaking and the monsters were getting enraged. Gritting his teeth, he wondered if YuWon might be up to something. Suddenly, his eyes flickered as the tower notified him about the trial. Another notification popped up in front of his eyes, and Theseus was disqualified and would be transported out of the trial site. This notification baffled him. Suddenly, the scene started flickering, and after a moment, they were transported out of the trial site. He turned to look at the trial site, wondering what could have happened. The trial island started rising above the sea level, and suddenly a huge turtle head appeared from the water. As the turtle rose from the water, it roared aggressively, intimidating the nearby monsters. The water rose and waves splashed all over the place. The sea turtle failed to become a black tortoise, and since it is the boss of the 20th floor, it is the greatest being in the sea. The roar of the sea turtle could be heard from miles away. Theseus grumbled as he realized that the trial difficulty had been increased due to the emergence of sea turtle, and the reward for clearing it had become the sea stone. He knew that YuWon was behind all of these strange occurrences. The Suz brought out his contact device and intended to contact his father for reinforcements to kill YuWon on the spot. But to his surprise, several players were thrashed on the ground several meters away from him. They were from the Vermilion Wolf Guild. Theseus' expression shifted, and he remarked, "Is this the first time since the Gigantomachy? It's been a while, Sudar." The player who held the Vermilion Wolf Guild captive was none other than the demonic giant, Sitar, the 21st son of Searcher. He was the giant whose clone appeared in the first tutorial. Sitar responded, "We don't have a friendly relationship to greet each other. What are you doing here instead of managing the tutorial?" he asked. Theseus, instead replying, asked the same question. Sitar replied, "Some adults were bullying our kids, so we came here to help them." Theseus gritted his teeth. The situation turned even worse. He was resolved to fight it out if the situation turned dire. In a matter of seconds, Theseus' lackeys appeared around holding their weapons. They were to go all out if this is what it takes. Sitar laughed out loudly. "You should not say such things when you are the one making a fuss. Do you think the giants will screw over the trial?" Sitar smashed his sword right into the ground and shouted loudly, "Listen well. We are following the order of our elders. We will now support player YuWon." Holding his ground, Sitar announced. The scene shifted to the trial site, where YuWon continued to deal with the sea serpents and other sea monsters that came out due to the sea turtle awakening. He continued to slash down the monsters one by one, but they kept on increasing. YuWon activated his cinder eyes to analyze the surroundings. He noticed several figures standing outside the trial site. He realized it must be Sitar. YuWon knew that the giants had bet a lot on this one chance, so he could not let their expectations down. YuWon jumped high into the air, stopping in midair right above the giant turtle's huge mouth. There were huge sea monsters alongside the turtle. As they noticed YuWon, they charged him. But YuWon kicked one of the sea serpents and directly entered the turtle's mouth. Once inside, due to the darkness, the effects of Moonlight Sword activated, which as a result increased the stamina regeneration and mana regeneration by 112%. YuWon's mana amplification also increased by 56%. There were also several monsters lurking in the darkness inside the sea turtle's stomach. As they charged at him, YuWon instantly activated the skill Divine Fire and started burning and slashing the monsters down. He resolved himself to break through this trial and obtain the Divine Sea Stone. Stay tuned for more juicy updates, and until next time, happy reading.